Awesome. Great. Thanks. Great to see all this kind of turnout, folks. All the questions and everything here. My name is Viren. I'm here to talk about Orkes. Like you heard about Orkes kind of a few times here in the presentation already. From Netflix and Doug and all, and must be wondering who are we? What are we up to? And I'm going to take the next few minutes talking about that. All right, so Orkes, essentially, we are on a mission to change how developers build distributed application, right? Conductor we see is a key thing or a key system which allows you to kind of do that. Orkes, we are essentially former Netflix engineers. We used to work on Conductor. You might have seen contributions from us in the past as well. And we are super excited to be back here now on Conductor, working on Orkes, right? Orkes, essentially, our mission at Orkes is twofold, right? Like you have Conductor, which is an open source, a fantastic language agnostic orchestration system. We want to continue investing in Conductor open source, as Arvindan mentioned, right? Like contributing to the open source roadmap, coming up with new features, continue to make it more robust and more usable system. At the same time, we understand, there is kind of a need for a lot of companies to be able to run Conductor at scale in the cloud. And that is what at Orkes we are kind of poised to do and planning to do, right? Like essentially what we are working on essentially is to build an Orkes cloud that allows you to create and manage Conductor clusters in clouds like AWS, GCP, Azure, and such, and provide things that you would typically expect from a cloud hosted service, right? Availability, operational usage, and the other insights, right? Ability to run Conductor in a private cloud environment, right? Now that the hybrid is a thing, and being able to kind of run Conductor in such a way that it's a hybrid environment between public and a private IT space and things like that. So that's basically what at Orkes we hope to do. And beyond just kind of holding making the cloud service available, we also plan to contribute very heavily to the OSS roadmap, as Arvindan mentioned, right? There are kind of great items on the roadmap for Conductor in the coming quarters, and we want to continue kind of supporting build on top of it. The other thing that we understand is, and there were a couple of questions also right earlier in terms of being able to support multiple languages and client SDKs. Conductor is a great language agnostic system, but if you think about it, right, like as a user, you want to use the language that best suits your need. If you are doing data processing, probably Python, something on a mobile phone, maybe Swift or Kotlin. And we want to ensure that we have first-class support for all the major languages and their client SDKs. That's another thing that we plan to start working on, starting with Python and expanding that support to all the other languages and continue contributing back to open source. The other thing, I think also there was a question about this earlier in terms of when you think about defining workflows and as you make it more complicated, there is the UI aspect where Peter and us we are kind of working together to build the enhanced UI that allows you to define workflows and task definitions in the UI itself, right, using the visual code editor. But at the same time, keeping the core Conductor principles, right, like decoupling the code from the workflow definition, ability to version, and things like that. We also want to be able to kind of build SDKs that allows you to define workflows using code and then leverage things that comes along with it, right? Like be able to kind of unit test that Arvind mentioned earlier, or just kind of do version control using the code as a way to do the repository management and things like that. So those are some of the things that we are working on currently and plan to open source pretty soon. So keep watching out for announcements from Orkes and Netflix on those things. But yeah, we are here to essentially support open source community, and that's all about Orkes.
Great. I'm double clicking the camera to turn it on. There we go. So I'm back as well. We're really excited to be in this space and to build out the Orkes tooling, and especially because we get to partner with our colleagues here at Netflix. There have been a lot of great questions. Again, there's like 13 answered questions in the Q&A chat, which is just phenomenal for a meetup. I'm really excited. I did put a link to the feedback form in the chat. If are there questions here for, we got a +1 on the Python SDK. Question is, will it come with unit testing for the will it come with unit testing frameworks like the one for Java?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. And our goal essentially is to make sure that, like, all the features that you find it in Java, you have a parity with the same set of features in all the languages.